I'm sorry, what was the name?
The Last Temptation of Christ.
I don't know why I just can't remember that title. The Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah. And you actually find out what it is, and it's crazy. It's like, oh my
Well,
God.
let's not spoiler. By the way, I think we're about live. Yeah, I think we're about there. We're there.
We're live
Yeah.
on Eternal Echoes,
Eternal.
the Eternal Echoes podcast.
The Last Temptation of Christ. Was it like a big movie? Like it was like out in theaters, people went out and
It was, I believe not only did it win an Academy Award, possibly a couple, um, it was Siskel and Ebert's number one film for that year. Like they both gave it two thumbs up, and which is rare. Like when Siskel and Ebert both give a film two like a thumb both thumbs up, like that's rare, man. That hardly ever happens.
oh, so they often had contradicting opinions?
They they always contradicted one another.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's great. I guess that just worked.
No, and it really was. So that's actually how I came across that movie. It was Siskel and Ebert's best film for 1989. Well, I kind of went down this rabbit hole of just watching Siskel and old Siskel and Ebert shit, and it's one that stood out to me, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to check this out. And man, what a wild ride!
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. Willem Dafoe's really good in it too.
Oh, I gotta change my. I'm gonna change my name on here. I just bleep that shit out later, but there it is. What's up, everybody? This is Eternal Echoes, episode 1. This is it's where we go deep. I want to. I'm a man of the people, and I wanna know the people, and one of my dearest, closest friends, Tim. We see him all the time. My collaborator, co-writer, best
Yep.
friend. Uh, fucking.
Ridiculous.
I figure if I want to go deep with anybody, how about this guy? And actually, all that being said, there's a lot I don't know about you, and I feel like there's a lot that you don't know about me either because we didn't really meet until we met when we were like uh, what, like 17 ish?
14, maybe younger than that.
No,
Maybe like
it was definitely in high school.
yeah, it was in high school, but I want to say I was like probably in my sophomore year, so that would make me like 15 that year,
And that was
16.
my second year of sophomore. And I was,
That's right.
I guess 16,
Yeah,
16 rolling on 17.
I think you were a grade above me, but
Well, no, we were in the same grade because I got,
were we?
yeah, we just didn't have any classes together. We only had lunch.
Yeah, we definitely had lunch, and
Well, I guess this is a great place to start. So this is an interview style show. So Tim, tell me about how we met. I want to hear because everyone has a different perspective and our memories are fickle as shit. I'm sure I remember
right.
things a certain way. You remember things a certain way. So tell me the story about how Tim met Harold from
Harold.
Tim's POV.
Man, so I remember I had to go to a new school because I got kicked out of my last school because I was a bad kid. I was like a bad seed, man. They didn't want me there, and I was a real bad guy.
Wait, what'd you
And
get
so
kicked
I,
out for? What'd you do? What was the breaking point that got you kicked out?
man, I think I like organized this protest thing,
You,
and they got really upset about that because I was gonna have a bunch of kids like walk out of the school at the same time, and my grades were pretty poor, and I was in a school that I wasn't really supposed to be in, and so they were like, "All right, well, he's causing trouble. His grades suck. Get him out of here." And so they made me go to the school that I was supposed to be in, which sucked. It was the poorest school in the fucking county, and like everybody was a piece of shit there, and everybody was on meth. And I just remember it was like a month in, and I didn't really want to make any friends because all my friends were in high
Paulding
school.
County High School. That's the one.
Yeah,
Paulding County. It sounds like a prison.
it kind of was,
We served
and
our
like everybody was
time
on death.
back in the day. We served our time in Paulding County.
Yeah, down there in the deep south,
Yeah, Paulding
served our time in
Yes.
Paul. Yeah, so I remember I didn't really want to make friends with anybody at the school because everybody's like really fucking lame, and I would just go to lunch and kind of sit by myself, and eventually, like, people started to kind of conglomerate at the table that I was sitting at over the period of time, and one of the people that kind of conglomerated at that table was you, and we were kind of in a similar situation. Like, you had gotten kicked out of another school or something like that, and you didn't really want to be there, and all your friends were over at the other school, and so
Same
we kind of
situation. Yeah.
made friends over the fact that like neither one of us like wanted to be there.
Except
That's what I
I have a different memory of that though, because my memory was all of that was spot on. In fact, I didn't know. Well, yeah, I knew that you had kind of like got kicked out of your school and like all that stuff. But similar thing with me. Like I got. They said I wrote like a terroristic threat to the band teacher because he put me in ISS and he was giving me like bullshit work to do, and I called him out as bullshit in like an essay. Like I wrote him an essay being like, "The fuck, bro." And they called that essay like a terroristic threat, and that was like their excuse to like get me kicked out or whatever. But anyways, you said that you were at a table and people were like conglomerating around or whatever. But my memory of the first time like seeing you and meeting you was like I was at lunch, and I didn't know anybody, and I was not happy to be there as you just described. It was like fuck
yeah
this, fuck every like I mean just I'm retaking 10th grade because they fucked up my block scheduling.
right
The whole thing is just like it's like serving. It's like being in a prison. It's like being in jail and like looking around. And I was at that stage in my life as well where 16, 17. If you're awake and you're like looking at shit, you realize that you're in jail and you're in prison, and it pisses you the fuck off. You're like, what? Because there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. It's the most fucking frustrating situation you can be in. But anyways, my first memory was you were like asleep on the table, like, or not like on the table, but you were like sitting down, you're like just kind of leaned over, and you're like sleeping, and I was just looking for a place to sit for lunch, and I didn't know anybody, and all the other tables had a bunch of people, and I didn't want to go sit with a bunch of random people. So I just sat where you were sitting, like across from. It was like a big table, so there was like plenty of space. And I sat across from you, and I was like, "Is it cool if I sit here?" And you're like, "Yeah, whatever." And then I think eventually over time we started talking. I think maybe you woke up or something. I don't know. And I have another specific memory. There was one guy that I was like kind of getting buddies with. His name was Troy, but he was like a super preppy dude, and he was really into playing like guitar, like Guns N' Roses style, like guitar. He was like obsessed with like Guns N' Roses and like all this.
like Slash, like he was really into Slash.
Yeah, but you hated this kid
Slash.
like a lot, especially because he wore a one of those shirts with the collar, and the collar he always wore his collar up.
Yeah,
I remember
I
that was
remember.
like that was one of our first bonding conversations. Was like, what the fuck is that? Like, what is this guy doing? Like, and then
What's up with this guy?
and then I think from there we started looking around because, like you said earlier, it was like the poorest school in the county. It was out in the sticks, and it's just a bunch
Yeah,
of crackheads and meth addicts and just retards. Like the staff, the teachers were retarded, man. It was like
yeah,
it was like a shithole, and all me and you would do was just kind of
shit on him.
yeah, be like, what the fuck, this guy,
Yeah,
and that guy, and that.
I did have a really hot teacher though, like Miss Durant. Oh man, did you have Miss Durant?
No,
She was smoking
looking, I
fire.
did have a decent looking science teacher, but she was dumb as a fucking bag of bricks, though. Like, I don't know how.
No, this chick was all like punk rock and like young.
Oh, that's
And I
dope.
just remember thinking, like, you look like the chicks that like I want to date. like
All right.
you look hot.
Hell yeah.
I think I like wrote her a letter like later on in life saying like, "Hey, you're really hot. We should. I'm out of school now, and I really thought you were a hot teacher. So
Nice. Hey man, you gotta take your shot, right?
I don't think she ever wrote me back, but like you miss all the shots you don't take.
But like I said, so my memory was you like being asleep at lunch, but you said that there's maybe like a group because I don't really remember us really hanging out with anyone else like in that school.
No, I didn't. I had like a little girlfriend that I had when I was there,
Oh, that's cool.
but that's it. Like that's like the only friend I really made there was you. And I just remember going to all those classes and like thinking these are the lamest fucking people I've ever met in my entire life. And like they would all talk about smoking meth and like doing all this crazy shit like on their free time and like I
So
was just
people,
like I want to get
so
out of here, man.
yeah, so I feel like I should like put a disclaimer here. Like this, so we're talking about Paulding County, Georgia, which is a little bit more developed now, I guess, than it was then.
Oh yeah,
But
probably
still,
yeah.
but still an underdeveloped county, out in the sticks. It's just a bunch of rednecks and, like he was saying, meth addicts and hillbillies and a bunch of wannabe gangsters too. That was the other.
Oh, a lot of that. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
the other thing.
like a lot of chest pounding and fighting and just dumb.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a nickname for. So I had one of my teachers. I forget which class, but he was an ex-marine, and he was kind of cool. Um, and he used to call it DA Fridays for Dumbass Fridays because he was like, if you look out that window outside my window here every Friday, you can see someone leaving in handcuffs, and he called them dumbasses. He was like, fucking dumbass Friday. It was like a weekly thing. Like it was guaranteed on Friday that a student would be getting arrested.
Right. And then that was at Paulding?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
because
Now
his
right.
room that he was a I think he was a history teacher or no I forget what he fucking taught, one of those fucking soft you know classes, but his room was in the front of the school, so anyone that gets escorted out the front of the school in handcuffs, he's gonna see it.
He had eyes on him.
Yeah, and so he was like every Friday, DA Friday. That's what he called it.
Yeah. Every fucking Friday. That's not surprising at all, considering like the environment that we were in.
No, in fact, if I remember right, there was even like wannabe like Bloods and Crips, which is like super retarded because no one there is affiliated with any Bloods or Crips at all.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just taking the name and being like, yeah, I'm a Blood, you're
No, I remember like this administrator saying to me one time, there are areas in this school you don't want to go after the school closes. Like after there's nobody here, like you don't want to be in that area. And I was like, what? Like this is a school. Like what are you talking about, man? And like this was like a vice principal or something, like who said that. And I was like, the fuck, dude?
it's just a bunch of wannabes fucking fighting over drugs and meth and weed and shit and fucking it's retarded.
Yeah, it's amazing like what like how chaotic fucking public school is, you know? Like you can just go and get shot now.
Yeah,
Like
fuck
they'll just
that.
bring in guns and kill you now. Like back in the day, you might have to worry about like getting jumped or like people beating you up or like maybe you do something embarrassing, you're embarrassed in front of all your peers. But like now, like people just come in and kill you. Like the guy's had too much and he comes in with a shotgun and blows everybody up.
I think about that sometimes when I go up to the park to play basketball. It's an outdoor court, and it's right across the street from a high school. And sometimes you see, those goth kids walking around with their trench coats and shit. And it's like, am I just gonna be out here shooting, and this kid is just gonna go on a rampage, and that's just gonna be it? Like, this
Right.
I die. Like, I'm just trying to get a little light exercise in, and I'm just gonna get shot in the throat out of nowhere. Like, is that
It could happen.
fuck? I
It's
don't
not
know.
unreasonable, especially these days, man. It's like your odds of that actually happening are there. Like back in the day, you'd be like, "Oh, kids, don't worry about that. It's a
Right.
safe fucking place to go. That's one in a million. You know, these things happen. People are crazy out in this world. Now it's like these fuckers are everywhere, and they will mow your ass down, and they got assault
Yeah.
rifles and everything else.
And what sucks about it, I guess for me, is because I'm like a pretty happy dude with like positive energy and stuff. So like I feel like if someone like that was out in the wild and they saw a guy like me, I would be like the first one they'd aim for. They'd be like, "Fuck that guy, being happy,
Fuck that guy."
this world, fuck that guy," and just like I'd be like the first one, like
Right? No.
yeah, just like just blindsided. I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Right. Done in by your own karma, your own good karma.
I guess so.
John Lennon.
Some people fucking hate happy people, man. It's a thing.
Yeah, they do. Sad people hate happy people.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. So yeah, that's how we met. We met in high school at a shitty fucking high school.
At a shitty lunch table and bonded over some dork like being a dweeb.
Tell me about the girlfriend that you had there. I didn't know you had a girlfriend there. How'd you meet her? How'd y'all get to hanging out?
Shit, man, I barely remember, but she was like she was in that the thing where they march around with the guns and shit, like they're practicing to be in the military or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And she was like coming back from that one day at class, and I can't remember. I want to say she like slipped me a little note. She was like, "Hey there, cutie pie, how you doing? I'd like to talk to you." And so we started talking, and she was my little girlfriend there.
You know, the same thing happened to me, not at that school, but the school that I went to before that school. There was one class I was in where there were two girls that were both like, "Ooh, new guy," and they had to like compete over me.
Right.
That was fun. I picked it was the two there was like a down home like country girl who was like a little bit
Yeah.
thick, but she was cute. She was like real cute,
Right.
a little curvy. And then there was like a punk rock, like not goth, but like a punk rock chick was the other one, and I ended up going with the punk rock chick. They fought over me, and I picked the punk rock chick.
Good.
Her name was
How it should.
Anna.
That middle school Riz, man. You
High
can't beat
school.
it. Ah, high school Riz, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I didn't like going to that school, and I didn't last long. I don't think I made it a whole year there before I somehow managed to get back into my other school.
I think I
And
dropped out before that happened, maybe. Or I don't remember who left first. One of us left. I don't remember. And then I ended
I think I left first.
you
I'm
left
pretty
first.
sure.
And I think I
Yeah.
dropped out shortly after that. Maybe that was
Yeah.
why. Maybe I was like, well, I'm on my own
Well,
now.
fuck this.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, so the reason I dropped out was I was basically just like playing like World of Warcraft. That was it. And that was
You were playing too much World of Warcraft?
no, it was not too much. It was the perfect amount of World of Warcraft.
It was just the right amount.
It was back when the Barons were like, you know, a thing. Like I had my fishing spot. Like it was like good. It was before they did like the daily quests and shit. No, dude, it was amazing. I took like a whole year for World of Warcraft to drop out of high school and play WoW, and that was a great. I quit music because I was a musician up to that point, and I quit for a year. I was just like, fuck. Because I don't know, I had been through all that shit and all that bullshit, and I finally got out. I'm like, you know what? This is a world I like. I'm gonna hang out here, and it was dope. I loved it.
I've been there. I've been there in my life before where I just World of Warcrafted for like 2 years.
I mean, World of
Man.
Warcraft in some ways is the
It was
greatest
awesome.
game ever made. For
I wouldn't trade it. It's like I didn't do shit I wasn't productive at all. I don't think I even had a job. Like, and I
Yeah,
played
but
the
I was
fuck out
leveling
of
up
World
like
of
a
Warcraft for
motherfucker.
like 2 years.
I
Huh?
got my alchemy up to like 150.
Yes, dude. I unlocked all these dragon mounts and shit in Pandaria. Like, I did all this. I got the Ashes of Alar mount, which took me like fucking literally 2 years to get. And yeah,
That's
I wouldn't
crazy.
trade it for the world. It was a great experience, man. It
Yeah.
was like I've got a few video games in my head, right, where like the experience is so good that like I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's as good as like the best moments in my life, sort of. World of
Sure.
Warcraft is definitely one of those. Like when you first get into it and like you're a virgin to it, and you just discover that there's this whole thing that you can go and explore. Dude, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
and the friends that I made there, and just like the whole
yeah,
thing was just it was really,
the rating, the
and it really breaks
dungeons.
my
Oh
heart
man,
seeing it as it is now as like a, just like a daily quest. Just try to
I tried
subscribers.
a couple of years ago. I was basically living completely sober, and I did not have anything better to do.
Yeah,
And so
I think I joined in a little bit on this.
I went back and I played a good bit of World of Warcraft, and I enjoyed it. And but it wasn't the same.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was where
know.
they had like the garrison, I believe, where you built up your little base. Remember?
No, no,
No?
this was more recent than that. This is
Oh,
like, yeah, this is there was this thing where you like went off into the heavens, and there was like heaven and hell, and it
that's
was it
pretty
was
cool.
kind of cool. But I didn't stay in it as long as I did in the past. But so World of Warcraft is one of those video games that is just like mind blowing, massive experience. I'd say Fallout New Vegas was one of those video games.
Well, all the
And
Fallout games really are.
I know I kind of had a hard time picking one there. The New Vegas 3 and 4 are all fucking amazing. And then oh, what's the other one? Skyrim. The first time I ever played Skyrim, I mean, it blew my mind too.
What is your first memory?
Well, for a long time, I honestly, my first and earliest memory is a dream that I had, and I want to say, after thinking about it a lot, that the dream it was about these two figures that danced, and they were yellow, and their names were Joe and Schmo, and like they were just these like dancing fucking people in my head, I guess. And I was probably like 2 or 3 years old,
Oh
but
shit!
I found out there was a children's show in 1993 called Bananas in Pajamas. And I
I vaguely
think
remember this. Yeah.
I think that's what it was. Because in my head over the years I've equated it. Oh, it was a dream. They were just these two dancing figures. I don't know what the fuck that is. Like I'm just 3 years old. I'm not making any sense of this. I think that's what it was. I think it was Bananas in Pajamas. Is
Okay.
potentially my earliest memory.
All right. So you were born
But
in Georgia. How long were you in that first house? Do you remember the first house that you lived in?
till I was about 11, 12 years old,
That's,
probably.
that's a good stretch.
Yeah.
Did you like
I
the
mean,
house? Do you have your own room, or do you have to share a room with your sister?
I had my own room my whole life.
Oh wow,
Uh,
fancy.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I've had my own room my whole life. I've never had to share with my sibling.
fucking a.
We all lived on a big piece of property, and so when I was a kid, my parents bought like this trailer and put it on this big piece of property. And so after about 10, 12 years of living in a trailer, like the trailer starts to fall apart. And so they ordered another trailer,
Starts to fall
and then we
apart. You
moved
said?
into that trailer and lived in that one for another 5 to 7 years. And then my parents eventually bought a house. But By the time my parents bought a house, I was probably 17, 18 years old. Like I was getting out of high school when they bought a house.
Oh, is that the one that was out towards like Hiram, I think?
Yeah.
So that property, your first property, you moved from there. So that was where the trailer was at. And then you
Yeah.
moved to the second property, which is where the spot was at, right?
No, no, the spot was where the trailer was.
Oh.
Yeah, in high school, I was still living at that property. I didn't move out. It was the
Oh,
very
so
end of
you
high
lived at
school.
the same property your whole life up until
I was like 17, 18 years old. Yeah.
and then where'd you move to? Where'd you go from there?
Well, I lived with my parents for probably a year out of high school, and then I actually moved in with my uncle. Me and my one of my best friends at the time both moved in there, and we started doing concrete together.
You and
And
Chibs.
yeah, chips. That's right.
Nice.
And
Tell me about the
yeah, we
concrete
did concrete
work.
for
Tell
like
me
two
about the
years.
concrete work you were doing. What was your day like? What time did you wake up? How involved were you? What was your job? And same with Chibs. Did you and Chibs did the same thing? Did you guys work together, or did you guys have like different jobs at the same place?
Well, at first we did have the same job for a long time, but I eventually kind of started doing something else. I moved on to being the pump operator.
So what was that initial jab?
So the initial job, you're basically like when you start in a concrete crew, like you're basically just brought on as a laborer. Like so your job is to basically do whatever they tell you. But our job in particular, we would stand on the back of this flatbed truck that would have delivered approximately 800 to 1,000 bags of concrete. And each one of these bags would weigh about 80 pounds.
Their bag?
And so, yeah. And so our job when we first started was to, and this was just one of our jobs. There's a lot of shit that you have to do in a concrete crew, but this was pretty much like our primary task. The flatbed concrete truck would show up, and me and David or me and Chibs would stand on the back of this truck with all these concrete bags. And what
Right.
you had to do was you had to grab the bag and pick it up and then walk it over to this pump that was pumping the concrete up into the apartment complex. And you would just walk over, you would cut it open with a razor knife and dump it all into this pump and then walk back and get another bag. And the pump could take probably like about 6 to 8 bags before it was filled. So you walk back and forth 8 times and do 8 bags at a time, each person.
That's some good
And so,
exercise.
well, there's 1,000 bags. Each one of them weighs 80 pounds. So you're essentially doing 1,000 80-pound reps throughout the day. Like you're picking each one of these bags up and carrying it and dumping it into the thing. So
That's
it's, I
inspiring.
mean, it's really intense exercise. Another
Yeah.
thing that we would do, so we did suspended air concrete. It's a little bit different when you're on the ground, but what we were doing was pouring in these apartment complexes. So we would take this hose, this fucking giant 2,000-foot hose, and we would run it. Everybody would grab part of this hose and run it all the way up to the top of the apartment complex. And then as you're pouring the concrete, you just slowly drag the hose back behind you as you're pouring it out. And then you've got guys in front of you making it smooth and all that stuff. And so that was part of our job too.
Oh, so y'all were like making
like
like those like walking platforms for apartment complexes?
No, we were actually doing what was called they were poured floors. And so these would be little miniature concrete slabs that they're actually the floor substrate of apartment buildings. And so sometimes we would do suspended air like you're talking about, where it would be real concrete and it'd be the little awning that sticks out over the balcony. But what we would mainly do, it would be the actual floor of the apartment building itself. And so it would be all of that square footage, that we would have to get in the concrete. And that's why there were so many bags. There were some days where
What if you
two
fuck
trucks.
up though? That's like concrete. Like it sounds like there's a wide margin of error there.
There is. There truly is. I mean, you've got a certain amount of time to do it. There's some days that you can't do it. When you do pour it, it is a job to get it finished to perfection immediately because it's immediately going to start to dry.
Yeah.
The density of the concrete, and so I started at that labor position where I was pulling hose. I was busting concrete bags. I was toting shit up and downstairs in wheelbarrows. I mean, just hard ass general labor, digging ditches, whatever they asked me to do, basically. Um, and then I kind of moved up to become the pump operator. So instead of having to take all the bags and dump them into the pump, I was just the guy on the other side of the pump throwing the switch, turning it on and off, and making sure that it ran correctly, which was a much less labor intensive job, but much more like it really fell on me to make sure that that pump was operating correctly all the time, because just like you said, if something fucks up, it definitely can go wrong, and it will.
Right. Yeah.
uh,
You get like concrete like freezing up in the pipes and then the pump and like
yeah, and it would cause these things called blowouts where you would what would happen, what the biggest thing that you had to worry
do you
about
ever see a
was
blowout?
not having enough concrete in the reservoir. And so if you got air, right, to where the pump wasn't pumping concrete, it was pumping air,
Uh-huh.
then it would shoot this giant air bubble out of the end of the hose. And instead of just having a smooth pour of concrete, it would shoot air out.
Oh, so you
And so
saw that all the
that was a
time.
big thing. What's that?
So that's something that you saw probably like somewhat regularly, right?
No, because I saw it probably 2 or 3 times, because if that happens, the guy on the other end of the radio is losing his fucking mind at you, going, what the fuck is going on down there? You got to get that fucking air out of that fucking hose. Like they would lose their shit on you. And so
This
I
kind
would
of
always.
sounds like fun, man. It's a good like team sport to be playing. It's like, all right, boys, let's get together. You got your positions. It's almost like an NFL team. Like you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. We're gonna fucking pour some Creed,
Yeah.
right?
It was about as intense as an NFL workout, that's for sure. Especially at that age, man. 18, I never had a job before.
Yeah, that's
I just
hardcore.
thought this is what working is like. This must be what having a job is like. It's the hardest fucking shit you'll ever do in your life. Um,
That's a good way to start,
yes,
man.
it was wild. I learned real quick that I didn't want to do it.
How long did you do that for?
About a year and a half to 2 years, probably.
Then what? Then what'd you do?
And then what did I do? Well, I moved out of my uncle's house. I moved back in with my parents. Or no. Yeah, I did. Just for a little while. And I started doing carpentry with my grandfather, and he taught me how to build countertops and cabinets and work in a carpenter shop.
That's
That was really fun. I really, really, really enjoyed that job. But I didn't make a lot of money doing it. And while it was a lot easier, certainly, than the concrete, it was still a lot of work, and like a lot of work to not make a lot of money. It was just like kind of a pain in the ass. Like nobody really wants to do that long term. But as far as the work itself, I really enjoyed it. I really liked working with wood and putting things together and creating things. It was a lot of fun.
that's a good early job to have. Working with your hands, doing something.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was really good. Um, but like I said, it didn't last. It didn't last as long as I wish it kind of had, because I wasn't making enough there. And another opportunity kind of came around to where I would make a lot more money, and so I just kind of jumped on that, doing like the fire protection thing, and I did that for almost 10 years. 8 years, I think I did the consulting thing.
Do you have a favorite memory that you're willing to share? You don't have to give us your number one favorite memory, but the something that you can think of off the top of your head that was like your favorite, your best, like out of all the stuff, all the adventures. I know it's a hard thing to come up with because there's a bunch of shit and you'll probably miss some or whatever. But off the top of your head, what's like a really, really, really cool thing that happened to you in this lifetime that like stuck with you?
Um, Man, I've got a couple.
Oh, I know you do.
I
I know you do.
I remember. Oh man, I guess there's some that I'm willing to share, and there's some that I'm not,
Yeah, I'm the
or that
same way.
I wish I could sort of, but I guess I'm not willing to kind of go there. Um,
Maybe off air.
yeah, maybe. um, I would say my favorite memory that like is I would say going to Disney World with my family. When I was like 12 or 13, I was just going into high school and I had just gotten out of middle school.
Uh huh.
And it was really sweet because I kind of had enough independence to where my parents weren't like worried about me. Like I could just go off and fucking ride the rides that I wanted to ride and do the shit that I
Right.
wanted
Oh,
to do.
just it was like your world. You just walk.
Kind of, yeah,
It's like your
yeah.
first
And
taste of
so
like being an adult.
yeah, it was. It was kind of my first taste of being an adult, and it was at Disney World. And I had this little. It wasn't an MP3 player, and it wasn't a CD player. It was after CD players, but before MP3 players, and they were these little things called mini discs. And a mini disc could hold like 4 times as much music as a regular CD could.
Right.
And so I would fill these fuckers up with like Eminem and System of a Down and Blink 182 and all the shit that and Green Day and all the shit that I listened to at that age.
Right.
And I just remember going through Disney World kind of by
Like punk
myself. Like I
rock
didn't
and like
really,
metal and like
yeah, and I was like
down like
listening to
go like
Eminem. No, it was like Eminem. It was like, bitch, I'm gonna kill you and shit. And it's like, thousand shit is here. And I just remember thinking, like, this is so fucking cool. Like, I'm at Disney World, but like, I've got all the fucking tunes in my head. Like, this is fucking rad. Like,
yeah,
I'm
like
having
this
some
is what life can be. If I want life,
this is what life could be.
yeah.
Exactly. And that's definitely, I would say that's one of my favorite memories for sure.
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Great response.
I remember the very first time I ever saw the chick that I've had like a crush on this chick my entire life, basically. And like I remember the very first time I ever saw her. Like that's a pretty fond memory.
Um, how long ago was that? When was that?
I was probably 17. I was 17 years old, and like my drama class was like doing this practice thing in the band room, and like she was in there, and I saw her, and I just remember thinking like that is the smokingest fucking chick in this school. And all these years later, I still think she's about the smokingest fucking chick I've ever seen. So
Oh, you still know her?
yeah, yeah, we hung out last week actually.
A chick that you knew since you were 17 years old?
Yeah.
Damn. I don't think I know, apart from my family and some people on, Facebook or whatever.
Apart from you, dude.
And I guess you.
I would say,
Yeah, I guess you.
yeah, I would say that outside of you, she's my second longest like relationship that I've had throughout my life.
Well, you still
Like
have
where I'm still like
well that's
actively
well
like talking to
you
them.
got Garrett and Chibs.
But they came after. Like Garrett was, I was out of high school when I met Garrett. I never he hung out in the same circles as me, but like we never
Um,
really hung out. Like we weren't
you knew
really.
Chibs before me though, for sure.
Yeah, but that's once again, it's like I haven't talked to him in like 4 years. Like I don't even know
Oh
where he's
yeah,
at or what he's doing or anything.
right.
He's totally MIA.
Yeah, my homies from like before we started hanging out, it was Dean and Joe, and we flitter every now and then on like Insta, but there's nothing, there's nothing there, which is really
Yeah, you get old and
we
people
were
got
like,
their own shit going on.
what was that?
You get old and people got their own shit going on, you know?
Yeah, it's hard because we were like an indomitable family. Like we were this unit that was like me, Dean, and Joe. Anywhere we went, there's no problem. Like ever, we could do whatever we want. We could sneak anywhere we want. We can do it. We were the team that could figure shit out. We played music together. We were in a band. Uh, it was just like the three hombres, and it was just like dope as fuck. But there was a bunch of drama that went on, mostly with Dean, because he had like a split family between Chicago and like the Atlanta area. So he kept being like pulled away from the group, and we kept trying to bring him back, and it was like just trying. It was like this whole like thing, and the whole thing just ended up just kind of. We basically all just got kind of torn apart from each other. Like all of our parents basically told us that we couldn't hang out anymore. They're like, you can't hang out with those guys. Like, uh, it's crazy.
Right.
But yeah, now that we're older and stuff, yeah, it's totally different. Joe has kids. Dean, I don't think he does, and he reached out to me recently, but they never followed through. So I don't know. It's weird to think people that you were like so tight with are like complete strangers now. You know?
I know. And you'll see pictures of them on Instagram and they got kids and
Oh yeah, the kids.
people grow up, man.
Yeah.
Get a little silver in the hair.
Actually, I was about to say I never even met Joe's kids, but that's not true. I lived with his baby boy. We lived together for like a year and a half. Actually, but it was like split custody. The baby wasn't there all the time. That would have been bad
Right.
because we were drinking liquor a lot, like all the time, liquor pretty much every day. I don't
Yeah.
think the baby would have survived in that environment.
Would have been like that movie Train Spotting.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Oh God. Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. There's like a baby that like dies from a heroin overdose in that movie.
Do you have what are some goals that you're working on right now? Do you have a goal or multiple
Yeah.
goals?
Well, my biggest goal right now is to buy a house.
How's
That's the biggest one. That's the big one. I have another major goal. But the house kind of has to come first. So
Sure. I feel like you're in a pretty good place where you can probably find something. Are you looking around?
yeah, yeah. I just started. Um, yeah, I'm hoping that maybe by the end of the year, beginning of next year, I could be potentially getting something and moving into it. But we'll see how it goes.
Best of luck. Any other goals? I think you're mentioning another one.
Yeah, I want to get married, but that's once again, I think I need to worry about. That's kind of putting the cart before the horse in my mind. It's like I need to make sure that I've got a stable place to fucking be married and like have a family and
You
that
want
kind
a
of thing.
family. You want to start a family.
Right.
Yep. That's the cycle of life.
But to do that, once again, I feel like having a home is a great not no longer renting and having something that's stable and it's all my own.
Sure.
That's something that like I feel like I need to knock off my list to kind of make the people around me's life better, kind of thing. I don't know. Especially if I am planning on having a family and like making kids and whatnot. It's like you gotta have a good place to put them.
Okay, I have a deep question for you.
That was deep.
This one might be an unanswerable question. Here we go. How do you balance the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake with the practical applications of that knowledge in the universe? Let me repeat that. How do you balance the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake with the practical applications of that knowledge in the universe?
I suppose I just kind of abide within the realms of reality. I
The
mean,
dude abides.
the dude abides. That's right. I don't think that you can really have one without having the other in either scenario. Um, like you're either thinking and appreciating and contemplating the significance of your own being, or you're simply experiencing it. And so somewhere in the middle is, I suppose, where I'd like to reside. Do I always reside there? No. Sometimes I feel like that I'm consciously making an effort to create my own reality, even though that might be somewhat futile, I suppose, depending on how religious you are. I feel like
Sure.
you either kind of think that you're the one manifesting all this shit and you're the one in charge, or it's somewhat predestined and there's a big uh force, a greater thing at play. Maybe you have free will, but like you're kind of just you're a body along a road kind of thing, walking along a road. um and I kind of tend to believe the latter more so. I think that while I do have free will, I think that a lot of this stuff is predestiny, and it's just going to occur whether I don't have as much. I'm not in charge of it as much as I'd like to be, or I think I am. But yeah, that's life right there. That's the essence of life, I suppose, is balancing the two.
What do you think the Earth will look like 2,500 years from now?
1,500.
Yeah.
Oh, not drastically different. I think that some countries will change. I think some forests will be cut down. I think that maybe our seas might be a little higher. Maybe it's a little warmer on the planet, but I don't think that like society at large will change all that much in 2,500 years. Now, I think that like technology will obviously be advanced, but I think people are still going to love, they're still going to have to eat, they're still going to go to grocery stores. Maybe they fly around in their car to get there, but like they're still going to need the basic necessities of life. I don't think that like we will have transcended to this point of being omnipotent super beings or anything like that. I think that it'll be pretty normal and pretty it'll look more similar to what we're living in now than what you would, because if you go back 2,500 years, I mean, the Romans were sitting around. Maybe they didn't have central air conditioning, but like they were still sitting in a fucking house. Like they were still telling stories and having camaraderie and drinking and having parties. And so, do I think it'll be different? Yeah, I think it'll be massively different. I think it'll visually look different, but I think the experiences and the relationships that people have, those will be pretty similar. I think that you're still going to have a family. Well, I guess that kind of poses the question, is like society's kind of at this point where it's like
I
the
mean,
degradation of the family unit and how that's becoming like a shitty thing. So that's kind of weird to see, like because my whole life I and really like the whole history of man, it's like we got here because of our families, we got here because of that. bond, that communal bond, and now it seems like people are far more willing to kind of reject that and not be a part of that system and figure it out for themselves, even though like it might cause them more hardship throughout their life. It's like they get this badge of honor of, oh, I did this by myself. And I think that that's silly. I think that people should go more back to the family and loving the family and loving their family and being there for their kids. I think that's where shit really falls apart in society, man. Is like fucking people not being there for their kids, you know?
I think you're right. I mean, like everywhere you see problems, with like crime and this bad shit, it's always when, the dad dropped out or the mom's on drugs or
Yeah,
just fucked up family life.
right.
Seems to lead to
Fucked up life in
yeah.
general. And the more you get away from that, the more you get away from like, this is how it should be, and this is normal, and this is kind of good for people and society, the further you get away from being good for people in society. I mean, I think that that's kind of what we're in the process of seeing right now. But I also
Mhm.
have a lot of faith that the problem will correct itself. I think that it has throughout history. I don't think that anything that we're seeing right now in society is that radically different from things that we've seen in the past. I think that if you were to go back, you could find things in similar situations and similar political climates that have occurred not a millennium, but centuries ago, and people don't really think about that. You know that time is sort of cyclical, and
Mhm.
that a lot of these same patterns just tend to repeat themselves and have for a very long time. And maybe once again that the technology wasn't there, but the relationships, the things that people thought, the things that people said and did were sort of very similar, if not the exact same. I
Mm.
think that like history just tends to repeat itself a lot,
It
and
kind of
if you
reminds me
go back and look,
of like the Flintstones and the Jetsons. They're like the same show. You know what I mean?
it's kind of a good point. That's kind of exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, yeah. No matter
You
if it
know,
was uh, hundreds,
same
thousand
family
years in the past,
issues.
or in the future, it's the same. It's the same dynamics that people are going to be dealing with: love, hate, war, religion, all of these things.
Yeah, instead of having like an elephant shower, it's like a robot arm with feelings.
Right?
What about
Yeah, I don't think
appliances
any of
have
that changes.
feelings? Won't that be fun when your shower head like gets moody at you because you haven't cleaned
Right.
it in a while?
Hey, buddy.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like taking it personally. It's like,
Right.
listen, bad hygiene is one thing, but like we have a relationship here, and you're neglecting me as your shower head.
You gotta get on that, buddy. Hey, clean this shit up.
I just had a question, but I just forgot what it was. Can you share a moment when you took a calculated risk and it paid off?
Yeah, I can definitely share one of those. And I don't know how calculated it was, to be honest, but well, it was in the sense that I put a lot of thought into it. But so I mentioned that I had a pretty good job at doing fire protection and life safety for almost 10 years, eight to 10 years.
Yeah,
And
so you'd like go through hospitals and you'd do like safety protocols and like
yeah,
up to code.
yeah, I would make sure that all anything in regards to the fire systems in that hospital, like the fire extinguishers, the sprinkler systems, the barriers that they would have in place, the doors that they would have in place,
Right.
anything, even their evacuation plans, their exit signs, the shit that they kept in the hallways, anything in regards to the safety of a patient or a staff member during the event of a fire.
Yeah, and you
And so I
traveled
would
all
go
over
around.
the country doing that.
Yeah, I would go. I've been to California. I've been to New York. I've been to Washington.
So
I've
they
been
used to
to
fly you
Florida.
like
I've been to
all over the
everywhere.
place.
Yeah. Uh, Everywhere in the continental U.S., I have basically been to inspect these facilities for these fire safety elements, and I'm very good at it. I've done it for a very, very long time, and
Yeah.
I got very good at it because I did it for a very long time. And so I got to this point in my career to where I was. I don't even kind of know where I start, but I've been doing it for a long time, and I kind of had gotten to this point to where I realized that I was very unhappy doing what I was doing. And
Like, what point did you realize it? Do you have like a breaking point? Do you have like a bad night or something? Or was it just like a general wear down over time?
it was a general wear down, but there was certainly a catalytic event that sort of drove me to the point of being not able to do it anymore.
Where you're
At
just
some
like,
point,
fuck this, I'm out.
yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of it had to do with the company that I was with, but I really felt like it wasn't so much the job as it was the situation, sort of. And I had kind of put so much time and effort and energy into this situation to be where I was and kind of as good as I was, and to not be taken care of the way I felt like I kind of should be taken care of.
Oh, you're the
Considering
Tyreek Hill that's not getting paid enough.
I kind of it was
You're
kind
the
of that.
running back in the league that's running all the runs, taking all the hits, catching catches,
Right.
fucking blocking blocks, and then only getting paid a fraction of what
And here's the thing.
receivers make.
Had I stayed patient, had I put another this now, it would make another 3 or 4 years. I would have made more money. That was never really like slowly over time. I would have gotten to the point where I felt like I needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also kind of dealing with a situation to where I felt like the people that were running the company and in charge didn't they didn't know exactly what they were talking about. Like just to be, I don't know exactly. Like I don't want to be mean and I don't want to phrase things like the wrong way, but there was this particular night where I had kind of gotten into it with the owner of the company, and essentially I had told him that I felt like he was just being incompetent. That the way that things were being run was a complete shit show, and that we knew that it was that way, and I didn't necessarily think it should be done that way anymore. And so that was part of it. Like I was already kind of on shaky terms or what have you with the ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And so that coupled with the fact that like I really was just sort of unhappy. It was a lot of fucking work, and it was this job to where you always were on call. You were never there was never a moment like you could call me at 12 o'clock at night and tell me to start a project, and I could literally be. It could be a Saturday night. I could be out drunk with my friends or with my loved one, with my spouse or whoever it might be, and I've got to drop everything I'm fucking doing and go and work on this. And this happened all the time. This was a
Yeah.
weekly thing. And so not only was it like that, but this was
Damn.
also a thing where I was constantly having to leave and I was constantly having to go out of town. And so not only am I having to sacrifice my time at home where I'm trying to build relationships, I'm trying to date people, I'm trying to do all these things, but now I have to go, I have to leave, and I'm out of town. I can't even pretend to do those things because I'm in a different state. I'm somewhere else. And so that was making me really unhappy. And I just decided I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to do what I enjoy doing no matter what. I'm going to take the risk, and if it doesn't work out, I don't care, because I'm so fucking miserable right now. I can just go back to this at some point if I want to, but I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm because I'm tired of waking up like this every single fucking day. And I did. I quit, and I immediately the next day started doing the online thing and selling things online, in the collectibles and the comics, and it started working. And I realized that I could make a living doing it, and I didn't look back. And I realized too that, like, while I could make a living doing it, I would never probably make what the upper echelons of the consulting thing were for me. I would never make $100,000 a year doing this. I would never get to that point, but I could make enough to where I could do the things I wanted to do in life still, and have a way better quality of life because I get to wake up and I'm happy every day. And and
You don't think you can
that
make
was it
a
was the
you don't
best
think you can make
decision
a
I ever
hundred
made.
thousand in a year doing what you do? Maybe not in a
I
single
mean, I
year,
could if I really. It would take a lot of capital. It would take 1 million. It would probably take $1 million. But yeah, I mean, I could make 100,000, but it would take a fuckload to do it.
like a
Like
million
it would,
in sales.
yeah. I mean, but what I'm saying is, like, I would have to purchase $1 million worth of product to make 100,000 for myself, and that would, like, who the fuck can do that? Like, that is hard to do. Like, nobody's got $1 million just sitting around. But do I
Or
think
other
that I
people
could
can buy
leverage
it.
it and make 100,000? Yeah, I do. It would just be a lot of work, but yeah, I could do it.
I think you can get there.
I know I could do it. That's not the question. I already know exactly how I would do it. But once again, it's like getting the capital investment to begin with is that's something that I don't know how to do right now. I'm floating all this on what I've been able to afford and sort of what my family's been able to help me with. Um, and just coming up with that kind of capital is like, holy shit. I just don't see how you could do it. But there are guys that do. And I follow those guys and I listen to them, but, like, fuck, man, like, where do you get it? Like, the guy that my main guy that I listen to about, like, some of these collectible type things and, like, flipping them, he leveraged about $1 million worth of credit card debt and did that very same thing where he just made $100,000. And so
Well, that's risky as
I'm
shit, though.
I'm not willing to go there right
No,
now. Yeah,
no.
I'm just not. I'd rather take the capital that's actually fluid and fiscal and work with that,
Yeah,
as
that's
opposed to
insane. That's insane.
leveraging a
That's
shitload of
straight up
debt.
gambling.
Not to say that I don't think you could. I think that it's there. I think that the potential is there, especially, for instance, like when that Lord of the Rings set came out. That was a set where the hype was so high and the product was so liquid. Had you spent $1 million there, yeah, you probably could have walked away with 150,000, maybe more. But it, you've got to not only calculate that risk of this is the right one to do it, but you got to have $1 million liquid ready to go. And that's hard to do, dude. That's not an easy thing.
Is there a
But it's where I hope to get. I hope that if I put 20 years into this business, which realistically I've only put 2, if I put 20 years into this, or if I even put the same amount of time into this business as I was in the consulting business, that maybe things like that will start to happen, and that I can take the liquidity that I have now and leverage it into something like that over time. And that's sort of where my head's at with the business
Well,
right
you've done
now.
more than 2 years because y'all had the shop back in the other town.
I know, but I'm not really counting that because A, it wasn't run like a business, and B, I mean, it was fun. It was an enjoyable experience, and I learned a lot from it.
What do you
But
mean
it
it
just
wasn't run
wasn't.
like a business?
Well, I mean, it was literally It was almost like having a flea market stall or something. Like you could
There
have
was
done the
like a
same
flea
amount
market
of
attached
business.
to it.
Yeah, exactly. There was a flea market attached to it, and having a gaming store and a comic store, I just feel like it's different than what we were doing in the past. I don't think that it's the same thing.
I remember going down there and visiting and thinking it was really cool that you had like an Xbox in there. Like you can go into your local game store, like out in fucking like kind of country, and yeah, you can just hang out and like play Xbox and Magic. Y'all had like tables set up for Magic and shit. Like that was dope.
Yeah.
That store was a million times better. Not a million, but it was realistically 10 times better than my local game store here now today in Abingdon,
Yeah.
Virginia. They're called Wolf Den Games, and they blow fucking sperm whales. Do better, guys. Do better. Get some tables out for the public. Play some Magic. Get involved with the community. Care. Give a little bit. You know?
Dude, that third beer, that's the one right there, man. You want to talk about the truth? Tim just spit a little truth on you.
Just gotta get 3 beers in.
3 beers in, and
Um.
3 beers in, and the truth starts coming.
All right. Superpower. If you know, genie in a bottle. He's like, I'm gonna grant you one superpower. What's it gonna be? And
Yeah. Okay. If by one superpower, can I just have all of Spider-Man's powers?
yeah, you want to be Spider-Man?
I mean, if all of his powers are under one thing, that's probably like, because you've got super strength, you've got spider sense, you've got like
So I have a question about that.
proportionate strength of a spider.
When do you go crazy with spider sense? Because you would just hear everything everywhere.
No, it only goes off when you need it. Like, it's only when you actually need it.
But doesn't he have like heightened senses and stuff? Like he can hear like, you know.
Yeah, he does. His vision is like perfect. So I love Spider-Man. Like, he's also, here's another thing about Spider-Man. He's super fucking smart. Like, Peter Parker is like genius level fucking smart.
Right.
And so if you get that whole umbrella of I got all this, then yeah, I would probably go with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is just so dynamic. He can do everything. He's funny. He can outthink all of his opponents. He's super strong. He can go toe to toe with the Hulk. He's fast. He's like an acrobat. If Spider-Man doesn't count, I would say telekinesis. Like, if I could just go Professor X, like, that'd be pretty dope too. Like, if I could just sit back and like do everything, like that would be
Telekinesis cool. Means you can move things with your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And get like,
which also means you would be able to like levitate and fly, because you could just move stuff with your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be cool.
I would say that one would be pretty dope.
It's called telekinesis, Kyle.
That's levitation, Holmes.
How do you think you're gonna die?
How do I think I'm gonna die?
Yeah, if you had to guess, which obviously it's a guess, no one knows, but like, you know.
I really hope that my family has enough money.
Which, by the
friendly
question, the follow-up question to this is, how do you want to die? But I'm first asking you, how do you think you're gonna die? And then, but if you had the choice, how would you want to? Would be the follow-up to that.
I think I'm probably gonna die of a heart attack, because that just like usually happens in my family. And we just drop dead and people move on with their lives. So that's probably how I'll die. You know, I'm hoping that it doesn't happen till I'm in my late 70s or early 90s.
I think heart attack's the #1 killer of men in this country.
Yeah, I can see it.
Pretty sure.
So probably heart attack is probably how I think I'm gonna die. How I want to die, obviously, like, if I hope I'm friendly enough and I'm rich enough to where I can just die in my own bed, surrounded by all the people I love, my grandchildren, and they're like, "Oh, Grandpa, fucking don't go," and I'm like, "There is another Skywalker and shit." Um, that's how I want to die, but I'll probably just like fucking die looking at the weekly FOC comic list, have a fucking heart attack and die.
If you were giving advice to someone that was graduating high school today, Paulding County High School, so the high school that we went to, this piece of shit country high school. So we're also assuming that this person has a poor family life. They've not had a great life, but they made it through. They graduated Paulding County High School. And now they're moving on out into the world. They have to figure things out for themselves. What do you say to this person? What kind of advice would you give them? Someone just starting out from nothing.
I would say if love is the answer, then you hold on to it. That's a really good one. Never give up on your dreams.
You say
No
if
matter,
love.
I mean, if they're yeah, if love is your answer, then you should hold on to it. Don't ever give up on your dreams, no matter if they're silly to other people. You should believe in yourself, and you should go and do. You should believe in yourself, and you should just go do you, man. Like, go do you. Don't
But do
listen
you?
to anybody else. Don't take anybody else's fucking advice. You figure it out for yourself, but you take it. That's the important part, is that you take it. Don't fucking pussyfoot around it. Don't be a bitch and like let it just go by. You go out there and you fucking take it. And
Right.
you be kind. Don't be mean about it, but take what you need, and love people. Love people as hard as you can. Be good to them.
That's great, man.
Yeah, that's what I would tell me. That's what I would tell myself at that age. I didn't. It was weird, man. Like I went through high school and I was a pretty happy guy, and I had a really cool life. And like as soon as I finished high school, like I went through this fucking horrible breakup, and I felt really, really, really fucking sad, and it prevented me from doing a lot of the things in life that I wish I had done at that age.
Right.
And don't let anybody take that shit away from you, man. Don't let anybody take your life away from you. You fucking get out there and go do it, because it's worth living, and there are cool fucking things that you can experience. Regardless of whether you're by yourself or with anybody else. Um, Go enjoy it. Go enjoy it. Have a good time.
Yeah, I can back that up as well. I mean, I've lived a fantastic life. I love the life that I've lived. I've lived in a couple different places, and I didn't travel around the world as much as I thought I would when I was a kid. But I'm kind of comfortable with that now. Like, I'm comfortable where I'm at. I like where I'm at. It's all good. But I think just for me, not that this question was posed to me, but I just want to kind of follow up on what you said. Um, just like sitting around and getting stoned and not doing shit in my 20s, like when I could have been out there like doing, like I could have been like building stuff, all sorts of things. I mean, just getting out there instead of just like getting stoned and playing video games for years, which was great. I mean, that's awesome. That's fine. I'm not knocking that.
There's merits to that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's my thing.
You gotta find
If
something,
getting
right?
stoned
Like,
and playing video games is it for you,
well, yeah,
go get stoned and play fucking video games, man. If that's it, and you're at the pinnacle, and like this is all it could ever be, enjoy it. Because I guarantee you, 2 years after fucking getting stoned and playing video games, you're gonna go want to do something else.
that's true.
Something else is gonna pull that, because you're gonna get so fucking bored and so fucking sick and tired of sitting there. Do it. Do it. Go take that time. Enjoy those fucking video games. Make the most of min-max the shit out of that fucking thing. Just do you. That's my advice to anybody out there, man. Whatever it is in your heart that tells you to be you, go fucking be it, man.
You do you.
You do you.
I love that. I think that's a great ending point, actually, for this. Tim?
Yeah.
So you're,
Sure.
I think, the first person I've ever like interviewed on tape. So thanks for doing that for me.
Yeah, of course.
You're an intriguing guest. I definitely want to know more. I want to get some other guests in or whatever, but I definitely want to have you back. So
Yeah. Anytime.
great starter episode of what do we call this show? Eternal Echo.
Eternal Echoes.
Eternal Echoes. And I think you touched on some really great stuff. You have really great advice for people, really great philosophy. We touched on where you came from and who you are today. I mean, again, this is just paraphrasing your life, really, but it's really interesting. How you've managed to like hold on to your values, I think is the biggest thing for me. The fact that you want a family and that love and the family unit is the most important thing to you. I know you have a tight family, and for someone that doesn't have like a wife and kids to like have that is really important, and it gives me faith that things are definitely going to work out for you in that aspect. You're a good guy. You got good things going for you. You got a good family.
Thank you.
It's only a matter of time till someone slides into that, and I believe makes things happen. So I see good things in your future, and
I feel it.
And
I started doing like a antidepressant.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So did you have to go see like a psychiatrist or like a
I went to like a family doctor.
Okay.
And told him what the fuck what I was feeling like going on. He was like, "Oh shit, well maybe you should try this." And
what'd you tell him that you were feeling? I mean, you don't have to give away obviously everything, but like can you sum up
so
your
mostly I told him that like for me it's like, especially these days as I've gotten older, it's like 75%, 80% of the time I'm fine. I'm better than fine. Everything's great. Physically, I've lost a lot of weight. I feel good every single day.
Yeah, you look great.
Thanks. I feel better too. I feel a lot better. But then there's 25% of that time where I don't. Like I don't feel good. I don't want to get out of the bed. I'm sad. I'm lonely. I'm beat down sort of by life.
Right.
And I also kind of did talk to him about how throughout my whole life I've kind of struggled maintaining relationships and how I tend to push away the people that are the very closest to me. And he was like, "Oh, well, you might be dealing with a little bit of depression." And so they hooked me up with a little Prozac, and I'm 2 weeks in, and I don't know if there's like a significant change or anything yet, but hopefully it's doing something, and hopefully I can stay on the right course.
I hope that works out for you, man. I mean, you look like you're doing fine, and
I feel pretty good.
everything you said tonight. I mean, you're kind of, I love the reason I want to do this is to be able to learn from people because it's so interesting. Any one person that you meet on the street anywhere has a profound backstory and just like amazing things to provide and offer, and we just always discount that.
Yeah.
Not calling you just a random person on the street, but I'm just saying anybody is that interesting, and I know how intelligent
No, that's
you
good.
are, and I know
I
the
think
stuff.
you should keep this thing going, man. Like it'll
Yeah.
be really cool.
Yeah, this is
Especially if
episode
you
1.
ask the same question, sort of, and get different, radically different answers. Like that would be very.
No,
cool.
I'm just gonna. Well, I just kind of freeballed this one. So I'll probably have over time as I get a feel for like what's what and what flows and what doesn't. I might have like some general type questions. But in general, no, I think just from person to person, I'm just going to kind of feel it out and see, just kind of see where it goes. Like there were some questions that I asked you that just kind of flowed with the conversation that we were having. Um, so that it just made sense just to go in that direction and just, keep it going. So,
Yeah, no doubt.
Eternal Echoes, Tim Oceans and Harold.
Real echoes. with
Dude,
Tim
thank you
Ocean.
so much. And yeah, it's one for the books. The official #1. It's another thing. We keep continuing. It's the end of the show. We keep going and going and going. But what blows my mind is we started doing streaming like well over a year ago now. It's been like almost not quite 2 years, maybe like a year and a half or something. But we've been doing it, man.
Yeah, especially with the sports stuff, man. Like there's a good body of work to go back there on.
Yeah,
For
well,
sure.
and I looked at all that because we're split between different channels because we used to have a betting on balls channel and we used to have a gauge and cage channel and I'm trying to get it all onto one now. So if you're looking at this channel, you won't see all that stuff, but I don't know, man. We have a pretty decent amount of content, and I feel like good things more to come as well.
For sure.
Check out this warehouse I'm in, man. I got all the space.
Right.
Man, I can like put something up there. Oh, I can put something way.
Oh, check out Willem Dafoe. He's fucking
Oh, dude, yeah, like over that way.
right here.
Yeah, man. Dude, I can just like, there's so much room for like activities. Like I can come back and just be like, woo!
Woo! Woo! Hula hoop.
This is a AI generated background.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Dope. But anyways, good night, everybody. Good night, Tim. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch, man. Let's hang out again.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll see you around, brother.
All right.